Hello, and welcome to Right to Be Wrong, the show that revives the art of conversation, accommodating varied views on sports, culture, politics, world events, and every topic under the sun. After all, you have a right to be wrong. Here are your hosts, Dave and Tony.
Here we are, back again. R2BW, the Right to Be Wrong podcast. And Tone, we are about to discuss two of my three favorite things, boobs, butts, and Botox.
Talk to me, Dave.
Well, the third one's not a favorite thing, boobs and butts.
Can't we get some type of sponsors? I wouldn't mind a bit of Bobo under the eyes, Dave.
But would you?
Wouldn't mind. Bit of Bobo. And then I wouldn't mind a bit of, those large...
I wouldn't mind some boobs.
Yeah, those large syringe things they stick into your love handles to get the liposuction.
Yeah, suck it out.
Looks rather invasive, doesn't it?
Very.
Yeah.
But if I had boobs, I'd never go to work.
I'd
just be there just playing with my boobs all the time. Hi, honey. Hi, Marisha and Gwen. How are you? See, what kind of a sick man am I with?
So talk to me, Dave. Why, so every week for our listeners, for the benefit of our listeners, Dave will send me through some things over the weekend. Here are some topics. And he sent me some stuff on the weekend and goes, he wants to talk about boobs, butts, and cosmetic surgery. And I've gone...
Boobs, butts, and Botox.
Yeah, I've got no idea, Dave, where that came from. So now I'm going to ask, talk to me, Dave. How did we get here?
I was just looking
on this topic.
I was looking through some girly magazines and then, no, just kidding. It's actually... The Mauritian Queen and I have, we've had this conversation about how all the young girls are becoming cookie cutters. So there's just a look. So everyone's looking the Kardashian look, right? Every girl wants to look like a Kardashian and walk around in athletic wear. But she'd actually showed me a picture. I probably should have looked up who the brothers were, but there was a couple of brothers, and she said, here's their before photos, like of 20 years ago, and here's now. And do you know who Jill Winterstein is, like the cat lady? She said something, right?
Yes.
So these were two men that were the equivalent of that. They looked Team American, yeah. So it got me thinking about, we talk a lot about social media and the damage with kids, and we talk about online bullying, harassment. We've gone down that path with our Should Social Media Be Banned episode. But I thought one of the things that's sort of skating through without being discussed is actually the rise of cosmetic procedures and the damage that is doing, because we're not talking about
the extent to which it's funded by the taxpayer.
Well, ridiculous so. But it's one of those things that if we're talking about reconstructive, because this stuff started out as reconstructive. So surgeons, cosmetic surgery, or plastic surgery as it was called back in the day, it was reconstructive. So you'd lost a breast to mastectomy through cancer. You'd been in the car accident, and half your face had been mangled. There were genuine reasons that what they were doing is for quality of life. They were trying to repair the damage that had been done through illness or accident. And now we've got to the point where we're training up physicians. We're putting them through university and training them up, and instead of having them work on reconstructive stuff or working on things that you would argue are for good or needed, they're just getting rich, putting boobs and butts and lips and all sorts of things on people that really aren't needed. So when I say the aren't needed part, let's say, for example, and I knew a young girl, grew up next to a young girl, regrettably got her father's nose, right? And it was more beak than nose. And I can understand as a woman, right? For me, I'm not a good-looking man. I'm fine with it. Doesn't worry me.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Or as the Filipinos say, beauty's in the eye of the beer holder. But to me, I'm fine with how I look. I've never had an issue, right? But I can understand young girls, if you have a particular feature that is quite abnormal, there might be something you want to do about it. I'm fine with that. But when we get to the point that you're seeing, well, I was going to say young girls, but young people in the prime of their life, that two things, either one, you look good, you don't need anything, or two, stop taking the shortcut, go to the gym, make some effort. I think we've really jumped a shark in society where we're just sort of accepting a whole generation of people that spend a significant portion of their income on cosmetic procedures that we've got to say to ourselves, is that the best use of our medical facilities? Is that the best thing to allow a whole generation to think that it's important to look like something you're not? Is it important for us to allow them to all be cookie cutter because there is a particular look that's arising? There's no variance there. And the reality is that it also says to me that we have a lot of people in society that suffer BDD. So BDD is body dysmorphic dysfunction. Now, I learned about this about 15 years ago when I was proposing for someone I knew that was a psychologist that to try and grow her business model that she go to cosmetic surgeons and work with them about doing an assessment prior to surgery on whether or not the potential client was suffering body dysmorphic dysfunction. Now, the reason why I proposed that was the data was pretty clear that there was a big spike in medical negligence cases, but as far as cosmetic procedures that were coming from people that suffered BDD. So what that means is if you turn around and you think, oh, I'll look better if you do my nose and my boobs, I have the surgery. For the most part, people look at you and think, well, you look better. But in their mind, because BDD is psychological, no, it's not good enough. So they think the surgery is a failure, so then they want to litigate. So as a surgeon, what you want to do is you want to try and filter these people out. Now, I think at the moment, I probably should have done my research on this just before we recorded. I think Australia now, ironically, this is 15 years later, I think you do have to have a psychological report done before you can have certain cosmetic procedures. Now, for those that are still not with me on what I mean by BDD, think Michael Jackson. So it doesn't matter how many surgeries you have, when he looks in the mirror, there's still a problem, he needs more. So it's a psychological condition you're attempting to solve with a physical solution. To me, there's question marks over the physicians that would allow themselves when they know that they're going to end up with clients that look like, plastic models or marionettes, that you'll continue to perform procedures because it's lucrative. That to me really says the Hippocratic Oath really doesn't mean anything to you because you'll perform any surgery as long as it's profitable to you.
So Dave,
now you see where we're at. It wasn't just all about Playboy Book of Lingeries and stunning women.
But I see, Dave. So what's driving the demand here? So what I mean, there's clearly a need for people to want to look like something that they're not, all right? The proliferation of cosmetic surgery, the number of people who actually offer it now, be it gut, be it breast, be it cheeks, be it Botox, be it whatever it might be.
Hair back on.
Yeah, be it whatever it might be.
Turkish hairlines.
But it has gone through the roof, Dave, right?
Yeah.
So what are we saying? Are we going to regulate?
I think we do need to regulate.
Okay.
And I'm not normally one for regulation either.
But pause regulation. I think the demand for these services and products is so great that if you regulate, there's a problem. You might just underground. And do you really want that?
Well, you're correct. And there has been underground stuff that exists because there's tragically been deaths because there's an underground cosmetic procedures in the US and in South America. Well, people across the border from the US because it's cheaper because it's quite an expensive thing to do a lot of this stuff. But to me, I think as a society, and this is a little bit different in Australia where we have Commonwealth supported places for our university students, our domestic students, I think to myself, the amount of money that the taxpayer is prepared to commit to training a physician only for them to start just doing cosmetic procedures and making money off it, to me, I'd nearly also have to say tangentially, if you go purely down the cosmetic procedure later in life, maybe what we need to do is say you've got to pay back all the HECS fees because the community didn't contribute to your ability to work as a doctor only for you to stick boobs and butts on people. We were there for people's health, for you to cure, repair, minimize damage. It wasn't just about, taking, for the most part, it's dominated by young women that already are in their prime, don't need to touch anything. And that's the other thing that worries me is that girls are starting to think, because obviously a girl does it, the main drive is going to be, I want to be attractive, what they perceive to be attractive. And it's sad to think that they don't realize that attractive comes in many forms. There's no one type of look, as you know. As
Exhibit A.
Definitely not Exhibit A. There's no attraction here, my friend. But as you know, right, to men, women can be black, can be white, can be Asian, can be tall, short, be more voluptuous, be thinner, can have long hair, shorter hair, blonde hair, brown hair, black hair, red hair. We know as males, you could line up women with 50 completely different looks and go, they're all attractive women. But for some reason, women are starting to think there's one certain type of look that men want and what makes you appealing. And it's not even like we're seeing with the surgeries, we're seeing an enhancement of someone's existing differences and characteristics. What we're seeing is a real cookie cutter that everyone's going to have the stupid big duck lips and the same size breasts and the big butt, and then they'll all dress like a Kardashian, and that's how you spend your time at the cafe.
So, Dave, on a number of occasions, you've told me you're a free market guy.
I am.
Right? There's a demand. There are service providers. To the extent that the products that they're selling aren't going to cause long-term or even short-term medical effects, right, for these people, I say let them go. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that.
No, I know what you mean. And I like when you try to pull apart my arguments. I mean that seriously because, this is the essence of why we do what we do, right? We want the conversations where we're going to move the ball forward. Where are we wrong? What positions can we change? For me, the reason why I think there's intervention is not because I necessarily want to, I agree. You do you, right? If you think you want to, change every physical aspect of yourself and you've got the money to do it and you want to go and do it, okay, all right, you do you on the free market. The problem for me is it gets back to what I said about BDD. What it appears to me is what we're doing is we're taking advantage of people that are psychologically unwell, right? And we have laws around all that for everything else. So you've been in banking and finance a long time and you know you can't lend to people that don't have capacity.
Yeah, we can.
So can you?
Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
All right. I'll give you more than 25%. Expand. No, but you can't. Can you?
Of course not. No.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure if someone has.
No, I was just thinking about. I heard a story the other day about, I forget which banker was, got absolutely drilled. No, it was actually Optus. So I was thinking corporates who have done silly stuff. Optus was selling phone plans to people with coverage where they didn't even provide coverage in that area, right? So in my mind, when you said banks cannot lend money to people who can't afford to pay, and I'm going,
oh no, I didn't say banks can't lend money to people who can't afford to pay, because if that was the case, 90% of their lending would be struck out. Right, yeah. What I said is banks can't lend money to people that don't have capacity. And that's probably where you went with it because you thought about capacity to pay. They don't have the mental capacity.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Right. So if someone is intellectually challenged, if someone's a minor, if someone's old enough and they're starting to get dementia, you can't, even if someone has the asset backing and can facilitate the debt, if there's something there that they're mentally challenged, you can't lend.
Fair enough.
Well, you shouldn't lend because it happens and then often they get sued, right? Those are the laws. So an example of that would be, imagine your grandfather or grandmother that's 70 or 80 years of age, mega rich, and but she's getting dementia, and the bank go and lend her $5 million because she wants to buy a super yacht. But on Monday, she didn't know what a super yacht was. On Tuesday, she has the idea and signs the papers, and on Wednesday again, she can't remember that she put the cat in the fridge.
And on Friday, she's in the boat singing Boats and Hools. Boats and Hools.
Yeah. She's there with Prestige Worldwide, right? So that's what I mean by mental capacity. So these people, we're selling them a product that they don't have the mental capacity to be aware of what they're buying.
But I would have thought, Dave, you'd have to check the stats, but I'm sure we're not talking about a small targeted little part of society of both men and women who are being targeted with cosmetic solutions. We're talking broad, Dave. We're talking from broad. 18 through to 60. Yeah. And increasingly I did a bit of reading today.
Which tells me how unhealthy our society is.
That's what I mean, Dave. So that's what I'm thinking. But again, they feel that there's a need. They want to try and get to an ideal, whatever ideal might be in their mind, right? And there are service providers who are going to provide that in a safe, quasi-regulated environment, right? Now let them go and do it. My comment would be, but how many of these people get it done and then aren't happy and then get something else done, right?
A lot, because they suffer BDD.
And I've known some women who have had stuff done where I absolutely know that they are comfortable with who they are inside and they just want something done to make them feel a little bit better about how they feel about themselves. I've got less problems with that, right, Dave? The ones I've got problems with is when they go and get stuff externally when they haven't actually sorted out internal, right? Because there's something deep within them that creates a bit of self-loathing. And I just say to myself, why are they doing this?
I get it that you're talking about fixing inside. And I understand, again, don't get me wrong, that example I used at the top of the show about the girl that she had more beak than nose, and that's all she did, right? She didn't from there go into anything else. It was just something that I know as kids she got picked on. We probably picked on her. So I can understand those things. And I get it too in today's world that we're living longer and women want to be able to look better as they get older and there's certain things. But to start with, like Botox, right? It's botulism. It's a goddamn disease. Now we're injecting it into ourselves. So I think we're going to get to a point at some stage in 20 years where it's going to be like the new cigarettes. Everyone's going to go, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, really? It was called botulism, Botox for short. But it's the same thing with putting all these foreign things into our body. But even still, for me, it's not even that aspect of it because, again, I am a you do you, right? So if you want to smoke, you smoke. You want to drink too much, you drink too much. But for me, it's around, are we allowing things, like are we proliferating mental health issues? Are we allowing surgeons to take advantage of people that they're not really mentally healthy enough or aware of what they're really doing, and then because they're not happy, they just can't keep coming back to you, which means
repeat business. Yeah,
you're not really fixing anything. You're just creating a client. Is that really what health is meant to be about? And even still, I think to myself, let's face it, I'm yet to meet a guy that's ever said to me when he sees a woman that's got, the duck lips, that ever goes, oh, she looks so good. It doesn't happen. These women are becoming so unaware of what they look like. And even let's go deeper. Because this is happening younger and younger, we've got people who are struggling to get onto the property ladder and get things going. Do we really want a situation where now we're encouraging, go and spend $120,000 on making yourself look good, at the time that $120,000 should have gone towards your house deposit with your partner?
You do realize one of the big banks is now offering a Botox bonus finance deal?
Well, I actually do know. You do know they are financing cosmetic procedures.
Oh, I was joking. I threw it out there.
No, they actually are. You can borrow for cosmetic procedures, because I've always joked, if you get behind on a payment, do they like repossess one tit? So it's just, you've made half the payments and not the other half. So they're asking you, do you want us to take the left tit, the right tit? Which one are we taking?
I'm behind on my repayments on my reconstructed testicle.
That's right. I want the third one. Give me a third testicle, doc. Where do you want it? Put it in my forehead. But the reality is too, when they do these things, they're ongoing, right? So when you have a breast augmentation, you have to replace it every so many years. So if you've turned around and done it at 20, you're committed at, let's say it's 10 years. I think it could be 15, but I'll be generous actually, and let's run it at 15. So at 35, you've got to do it again. At 50, you've got to do it again. At 65, or at some point you go, I'm 65, just take it out now. But you're constantly paying.
Yeah.
So you're creating a cost there's already enough cost in life, paying everything else, raising kids, everything you're doing. Do we want to let this proliferate? And to the point of some bizarre stuff. So I hate the term racism because it gets thrown around so easily today. People throw it out there as soon as you challenge an idea. But I hate even more so is when people say, oh, you're just internalizing the misogyny. You're internalizing the racism. But I do wonder whether the Koreans are becoming racist against themselves, because one of the biggest cosmetic procedures that happens in South Korea is widening the eyes. That's like,
no idea. I had no idea.
It's amazing, and to the point, it's not only making your eyes round, but it's to the point now where it makes them really large, like the cartoon character stuff. It's really strange. I think the second most common country in the world for cosmetic procedures, I think, is South Korea. I think Turkey or Iran is like number one. It's really bizarre.
So, Dave, what's driven the growth? So,
well, I think there's a Kardashian effect.
Yes, I think that
amplified by social media.
Celebrity amplified by social media, but also
because now none of the Kardashians, that's what they look like. None of them. They all. If you've seen before photos, it literally some of them were really ugly.
I know. Does Bruce Jenner count as a Kardashian, or Caitlyn Jenner?
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother conversation about Dave, changing things. But he hasn't cut his penis off.
That's right. So, Dave, there is this celebrity. There is this amplification of social media, like everything we talk about now. But the fact that technology has made the services themselves much more affordable, I'd say safer. People have then looked, some of these surgeons that you spoke about earlier have then looked into that market and gone, there's potential there for us to kind of make some money here. So the ability to deliver it in a relatively safe environment that provides an affordable solution for men or women who want something done to make themselves feel better about themselves. That all feeds into that. But they're looking at so much social media in terms of what ideal is. Now, your ideal view of what a man is.
He's fat, he's bald, he's middle-aged, he has a podcast, he wears his glasses.
You're looking at me. Cap. You're looking at me. I'm your ideal man. So your view of that and what my view of an ideal man would be, because if I wanted to get stuff done, there's a couple of things I would get done. But to your point earlier, what I'm going to do?
Did that, you went round the boobs. Are you going to do some big double
Knees, Tone? What I get done
is Tony's trying to distract me from you, honey. You need to have words.
I know that for me to get to where I want to get to, or back to where I want to get to, it's about diet and it's about consistent weight training with a bit of cardio. Right? I know that. If I look after my diet and I know what that looks like, I drop a bit of weight, I'll feel good about myself, but that's it. I don't want to be chiseled, right? I don't want things sucked out of me. I don't want things pumped into me. But for some reason,
sucked out of me.
But for some people, Dave, they're so hooked into what the ideal or the best version of themselves looks like now.
The best physical version.
Yeah, they want to get to that. And then when they get there, they want to get to the next best version of themselves. And it's a loop that just keeps on going. And to my earlier point, I would suggest that a lot of these people have got some insecurities born out of something or other that they need to actually resolve and then put a handbrake on some of this stuff. But this is clearly a psychological issue for a lot of women and men, for that matter, who want to invest in these types of procedures to achieve some type of ideal. Now, Dave, a lot of the women who I know who get this done, they are highly paid, highly competent, exceptional people in corporates, right, who aren't just, I want to look like Kim Kardashian, but they want a bit of a tweak here, a bit of a tweak there.
Are they single?
No. The ones that I'm talking about are not. They're all married.
Right.
All right.
Because I do know there is a prevalence in women thinking you do it and that will attract a man, but then it attracts the wrong type of man, because you don't want to attract a man for what you look like. And now, let me be clear here. We all have a type, right? When I saw the Mauritian Queen, ironically, for a bald guy, I like good hair on women. So you have to be attracted to someone. We all have a type of look, but it shouldn't be that you get someone because of what you look like, right? The initial attraction will catch the eye. Who you are will retain. And it's a bit like, if guys start walking around like I put on a toupee and, women hate bald guys, right? There's some women that don't like bald guys, there are others that love them. So for me with a shaved head and everyone's like, boys, Dave always wear a hat. I do this because when I'm walking down the street, I'm hoping when I'm bald that I can just walk around without being famous. So it's the JK, the Jamiroquai theory. But the point is, if I start wearing a toupee and a girl sees your profile online because there's so much, and then she finds out when we get 3 weeks in, I take it off. Well, what was the point? It was all false, right? You better go, I love your big shiny head. It's great. I love it. You're not going to use my verticoli. Don't touch the verticoli.
How much did you pay for that?
12,000 lira.
Oh.
I can't do the conversion. Is it $1,000 or 12,000 lira?
12 million lira.
Something like that. So it's it's creating a lot of problems in terms of attracting the wrong people, waste of our medical resources, not dealing with your psychological issues or your, the self-doubt or whatever it is that you're doing it, creating a situation in South Korea where they want to look like they're Western. And that, again, makes no sense to me. Because, again, to women, there are men that like Asian women. Look Asian.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to be you.
And Dave, where was this all born out of? Like this, we've spoken about it before.
I'd love to see the data, actually, literal. I hope someone can get the data to see if there's like the Kardashian show becomes a thing and there's like a correlation with surgery.
Oh, because if you think about it, like they've been, like I was watching the Kardashians 15 years ago, I'm sure I was, if not longer, right? And since then, Instagram's blown up. The filters that can play on Instagram to make things look a little bit better. The fact that the algorithms are just so in tune now. Like you and I speaking now about, I'm going to say it into my phone, cosmetic surgery for men, extra testicles for men. And then let's see how many ads I get on Facebook tonight and Instagram. People trying to flog me extra testicles.
You're going to be there all night going, oh, that one's a bit big. That one's a bit small. What?
But it's
a bit hairy.
But it happens, Dave. So social media kind of, as always, pours fuel on the fire. But at its root cause, they're playing on the insecurities of young women predominantly as well as young men. And that's in an environment and in a society, Dave, when everyone wants instant gratification.
Yeah,
right?
There's a whole bunch of things conspiring at once, right? So you've got the Kardashian effect that people, want to have the surgery. You've got the insecurities going on. You've got the physicians that just want to make the money. You've got the credit that makes the money accessible. You've got the social media that's telling you everyone else's life is better than yours. They look better than yours. You've got the filters, which means it's fake anyway. And the person, everything about is fake. She's had a nose job. She's had her chin done. She's like, people are living in a completely false world. It's no wonder we do the genuine mental health issues, because I think it gets thrown out way too easy where a lot of it's mental resilience. But the ones that we do have genuine mental health issues, I think a lot of it is, how could you not? Your entire life is fake. Your entire life is not being who you are. Your entire life is playing to a crowd. It's a scene. You're like a Hollywood actress that's never off. You've got to be on from the time you wake up until the time you sleep.
So on some of these psychological considerations, there's an external image that we see, but there's an internal image of what we want to be, right? Is that a psychological issue, Dave?
I don't necessarily think that is. Who you want to be, you've got to define what you mean by that, right?
Sorry.
Because there could be, who do you want, like where do you see your life going? What's your career?
Sorry, let me
What's
wind
the
that back.
person
Yeah.
you want to be?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I get that. But for a lot of people, it's, I look in the mirror every morning and I see something, and in my mind, I want to see something else.
Yes.
So is that psychological?
That's psychological.
Fine. Is it insecurity, obviously?
Yeah, that'd be part of it.
Okay, fine. What about I'm getting older? I'm responding to aging. There's a safe way to kind of, put some things here, get rid of some wrinkles, maybe get rid of some eye bags, whatever it might be. Is that psychological?
No, I think it all depends.
Go on.
I think it can be, and I think it's gender specific. So I think for men now that there's a sharper rise in this sort of stuff for men, I think that's more psychological. I think for women, women have never liked aging.
Yeah, because women,
it's just
they want to look younger for longer.
Yeah,
right.
And to be honest, I can completely understand that, right? Because there's a whole number of predisposed biological and physiological realities that sort of drive that for women. They're competing with a mate, retaining the attraction of my mate. So the secretary is not the attraction to him. His wife that's giving him children and cooks his meals and looks after him is really good. And let's be honest here, this is where us as men, there's an inherent assholeness to us that at times, the hot young thing can catch your eye when the wife that's done everything, been there for you, she's wonderful, she's amazing. That's just something we have to fight with.
Was I your hot young thing?
You're still my hot thing, Tone. It hasn't changed. And especially when you start doing this.
Hot young thing.
You can be my hot young thing. You get those boobs done and I won't even notice what's going on up here, Tone.
So, Dave, psychologically, what about someone wants to get a bit of work done, boost their confidence, feel better about themselves, maybe motivation for some type of, change in career. Like that's all, if it's well thought out and it's going to be something that's not something they can afford, something that they believe is going to make them, as I said, feel better and give them a bit of a confidence boost. Is there anything wrong with that?
I think yes.
Go on.
Like the inherent premise, no. The choice of execution, yes. So I think the inherent premise of wanting to feel better, be more confident, achieve something, I think is healthy and good. But the ways in which we used to do that was you go, you know what? I need to eat a bit better. I need to exercise. I need to go to the gym. And instead of turning around and spending 20 grand on boobs, which is about what it is, before we even talk about adding everything else, after you've done the gym, you're so distracting. How big would you go? Tell me how big you'd go if you're doing it.
I've joked this with my own version of the Mauritian Queen. I've said double G's, baby.
Yeah, that's all the way.
I want to be tilting over.
I want to get a message from you. I say, hey, Tone, do you want to go do, X? And you're, I can't. I'm waxing my jugs tonight. That's what I want from you. Busy waxing my jugs. But I think what we used to do is, you would start with those things around, exercise and the natural stuff and eating. And then instead of spending that money on the 20 grand on boobs, go and get some tailored clothes, because someone that will tailor a dress rather than off the shelf or off the rack, pun intended, those things will start to emphasize the features that you do have. And so I think there are plenty of things you can do will make you feel better about yourself, improve your confidence, let you go where you want to be, attract a mate if that's why you're doing it, feel more confident walking through the office because you look a little bit better in your pencil skirt and your blouse or your suit or whatever it is. I think what we're doing now is we're taking the easy option. Everything's the easy option. And I'm not throwing stones here. Now, I haven't had any surgery, and I seriously wouldn't have any surgery, but I'm carrying too much weight right now. I've got to get off my ass and get back to what I used to do. Remember, we used to be at the gym, boot camp, 5 a.m. We were fit mofos.
Fitness, you're not going to believe
this.
Hey,
Ryan, how are you?
You're not going to believe this.
So they contacted you?
No, where the other half is moving into in a certain part of Sydney, downstairs in her new apartment block, have a guess who runs the PT gym?
Ryan.
You got it.
Did you see him? Did you say
no, I haven't seen him yet, but I've said to...
Tell him we'll get our ass in the gear and we'll get back there.
I absolutely.
Yeah. And he can strip the 20 kilos.
And I was telling the...
For our US listeners, that's like 50 pounds I'm talking about here. I'm 50 pounds overweight.
So back in 2000...
If I have a circumcision, that'll fix half of it.
I reckon 2004, 2005, Dave and I were doing a boot camp, and these guys who ran the boot camp were... remember, it was moving day for one of the trainers.
Yeah.
What was the name of that guy?
There was Mike.
No, the guy who used to train with us, who used to just sarcastic, really witty.
John was his first name. I'm trying to think his last name, yeah.
And I remember they were moving location. They moved location from their gym about a kilometre up the road. So here's a good boot camp. Let's move all the equipment.
Yeah. So that's what we were doing, carrying weights a kilometre.
Good times, Dave.
I'm trying to think of his name. I've got a mental block down. I know
he was funny.
Yeah,
he was
very funny.
Yeah. So in terms of some of the social media impact, if you look at it in a bit of greater detail, you've got this micro marketing that happens now. The images that you build up in your mind of how you might want to look are fed back to you all the time. Like how many, I'm not sure about you, Dave, but how many ads do you get? I know on social media, I get a lot of ads. Are you a man over 50? Are you living in this part of Sydney?
Do you suffer from erectile dysfunction? Or is it just me?
Yes, and yes.
I keep getting a lot of ads for Ukrainian brides. What the hell am I on?
That's right. So I think a lot of those, a lot of that marketing and throwing it up on people, that's what it was. Yeah, throwing it up on people's feeds, and then getting people interested in what they might want to become or what they choose or what they might want to be. It all plays into it, Dave. Where at some point, but people need to take a step back and say, what do I want to be and why? Right? I know I want to be a bit fitter. I want to be a little bit leaner. Why? Because I want to give myself the best chance of living the longest life possible. Okay, why? Because I want to be the best dad that I can be for my kids.
You want to know something that's really funny?
What's that?
The Mauritian Queen says to me the other night, She goes, will you hurry up and go to sleep? I said, why, honey? I'm talking to you. She says, no, I'm so used to your snoring that I can't sleep now unless I hear your snoring. It's like white noise in the background.
How good.
So I don't know what she's going to do when I lose weight and I don't.
Stop snoring anymore.
But what's going to happen to all these people downstream, right? One of the things, if we take the view of free market, you do you, knock yourself out, we don't care about it. I think the problem we're going to have is a mass spike in depression and, sadly, suicide that's a little akin to what goes on in the porn industry, right? Because the porn industry obviously has always had a lot of women that were drug addicted, abused when they were young, things like that. And what half the reason they got into the porn, aside from the money if it's addiction, but the ones that's not the issue, was the adulation. All of a sudden, everyone's telling me I'm beautiful, or really not beautiful. Everyone's telling me I'm hot. Everyone wants my attention. Everyone wants to be with me, right? And as terrible as what it is, the reality is they're in high demand until they get older. And then when they get older and two things happen, it's generally at the same time. One is they're losing their looks and suddenly they're not getting the calls, they're not getting the jobs, everyone doesn't love them. And two, you're getting more older and more mature and seeing the world, and some regret of your lifestyle choices starts to kick in. But they have a very high suicide rate when they realize that everyone doesn't want them, they don't love them, they were used. I worry that if we leave this unchecked, there's only so much you can do before age is still age, right? Surgeries, if surgery could really make you look young and natural, we wouldn't have the Wintersteins, we wouldn't have the Michael Jacksons, we wouldn't have these guys that look bizarre, because it'd work, it'd be so good. So one of two things is going to happen. We're going to have this world of people that look like bizarro clown heads, or there's going to be people that, that don't have the money to keep going, and they're going to start realizing that everything about their world was based on what they looked like or their perception of what they look like. And then there's an emptiness, and that emptiness is what leads to those sad outcomes. So I think it is something we should be discussing. We should be focused on. We should be asking why. Why is there such an explosion? Why this is flying under the radar that we now lend to put money on, lend money to put boobs on yourself? Why we train up physicians that just do this sort of work? Why we allow it to be promoted and proliferated as, you have to look a certain way instead of you being you. I think it's one of the issues in society. It's sort of no one's really talking about it. It's just sort of flying under the radar.
But it's like it's everywhere, Dave.
It is everywhere.
Right. So I would say the affordability, the safety, the very, very low incidence of post-op issues. So that goes to the safety piece. The driving of what ideal looks like in terms of social media, right? And then the fact that I think the longer term psychological outcomes are still yet to play out, right?
Yeah, I think we're very early in the cycle for that.
So I think all that lends itself to this thing just continuing to actually would you say it's out of control?
I think it is now out of control.
Yeah, because would you put ignore gender, would you say there should be an age limit as to when you can or can't get?
Well, I think there is already. I think it's 18. So
sorry.
With the
I know there is.
But I know what you mean. You mean, would it be something beyond just the
18? Yeah.
Oh, look, I think yes. To be honest, and I think it should be compulsory the world over to actually have a test and test for what the psychological issues are and really confirm the drivers of what you're doing. Because I think we probably get back to where, okay, still breast enlargements, fix your nose. But some of the other stuff where you're seeing people where the whole chin shape is changed and doing, the jaws. And I think, who was it? It's one of the old famous actresses, they said had one of the bottom ribs removed to help give the sharper V shape. I don't know if it was Marilyn. But we are getting to some dangerous times where, there are people who are going to grow up thinking their whole life they've just got to keep going. It's like your car. I'm due for a service. I'll go and have the surgery.
Yeah.
Got to get this done. Got to get that done. I think, wow, that's not a very healthy world that we're going to be living in. And if we leave it unchecked, there was when I think it was either The Mandalorian or Boba Fett came out, the Star Wars offshoots. And there were mods, they were called. So there's this gang of teens where they tried to make it sort of hip and cool and get a new crowd. And the mods were where they were cutting arms off and putting different features and stuff on instead. And there was a bit of a concern there that unchecked, that young ones go, oh, that's cool. Why don't we do that? I want the bionic arm, or I want an arm that's like a Swiss Army knife. And so the question becomes, where does it go then? If you say people can do anything they want, it's free market, let it go. What do you do if someone comes in and says, I want both arms cut off, and what I want is I want a hook on one side and I want this Swiss Army knife type thing on the other side? Are we going to just say yes?
Yeah, right. Like, it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But you have to
turn around and go, oh, yeah, we'll cut your penis off.
No, you have to draw the line somewhere, right? So the thing is, Dave, I think government would be loath to get involved in this. Now, to the extent that all these surgeries were being done in public hospitals, right, and it was taking up beds and surgeon capability it
still takes up surgeon capability.
It does, yeah, but a lot of it, again, you'd like to get the data. What proportion of all this work is done in private hospitals or these clinics? These clinics are everywhere, Dave.
Yeah.
Everywhere, right?
Well, the other thing too with it is we wouldn't see that. What I find bizarre is how we've picked things politically that we think are palatable, and I use that word loosely, that we accept. So the transgender movement, where in the US they're like, oh yeah, you're transgender, yeah, we'll cut that off for you. Yeah, we'll turn it into a vagina. Yeah, we'll cut off your breasts. I think, hang on. Well, if that's the case, and we do have someone with body dysmorphic dysfunction, because you're cutting bits off in gender dysphoria, with body dysmorphic dysfunction, then where are you going? If someone says cut this off and turn me into like a mod with a certain arm, would you do it? And why are we picking those two mental health issues that we disregard and will do whatever you want surgically? There's a thing called body identity disorder. I think that's what it is, which is where you think, for example, your arm doesn't belong to you. It's a really rare thing, but it's like, they'd want to, you can cut it off for all I care. So if someone comes in with body identity disorder, you're going to turn around and they say, yeah, cut off my left arm. And it's because this can happen when they're 6, 7, 8 years of age. Yeah. You're going to cut a healthy arm off a 7-year-old because they've got body identity disorder. Like, it's, to me, one of the things that concerns me in society is we throw out mental health issues so easily that are often mental resilience. We are now at least having a conversation around the spike in autism and why it's rapidly happened. And, is it linked to certain medications like Tylenol, where Trump has come out, which, by the way, everyone that's on him, it was hilarious. This is where Trump derangement syndrome's clear. You had all these pregnant women go and start taking it because they're anti-Trump. And then someone put up all the warnings that Tylenol themselves had been putting up for decades, going, yeah, don't use it when you're pregnant. But anyway.
Mind you, like that whole discussion around the US, and the fact that they give their pharmaceutical companies pretty much carte blanche. You're like, as long as you tell them on the product what it can cause, you're good.
Go for it. Yeah. So what you should be doing, and this is where, again, everyone knows I'm on the Trump train that listens, and that's not because I'm saying he's a god, but here's another situation. You should be happy and going, all right, I'm not making a decision either way here, but I'm pretty happy as a society. We're having the conversation now about what pharma does. What do they sell us for profit that they don't care what damage it does to us?
And that's a conversation they need to have.
It is definitely
much less so in Australia.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're relatively good when it comes to those sorts of things. But getting back to the two psychological conditions that we seem to be just fine to cut off body parts, why are we picking those? Why don't we turn around then and just say it doesn't matter what mental health issue you have. If you've got capacity, mental capacity, you're over a certain age, yeah, we'll cut your healthy arm off for you. Knock yourself out. Like,
it's still, Dave, it sort of troubles me a bit where I say to myself, is wanting to have or wanting to look or wanting to feel, because how you look and what you see in the mirror every day is going to have a direct impact on how you feel, correct?
Regrettably, yes.
Yes, right? So therefore, for someone to want to have a better version of that, I wouldn't call that psychological. Oh, it's a tough one, Dave. I actually think there's a level of that. For whatever reason, you look and you're not what you want to be, and you see what you want to be. I don't actually think trying to correct that is actually bad thing. But what I would say is age limits, beyond, you have to be above a certain age to borrow money to get that stuff done, right? Psychological awareness, right, to make sure they need to go and talk to someone through why they're getting this done. Because at the moment, Dave, it literally is turn up to the clinic, let's have a chat, see what I can do. Here's what I think I can do. You okay? Okay, sign here. And then a week later, they're in.
Well, our boy's very, very good looking. One thing, to quote the great philosopher Derek Zoolander, I remind him all the time, there's more to life than being ridiculously good looking. And isn't this one of the things, though, that being serious, we try to raise our kids and we teach them that, don't we? Particularly girls. And again, this stuff is starting to become more a boy issue, but traditionally, isn't that one of the things we used to say to girls all the time? Honey, looks is not what's important. Yes, maintain, you can look pretty, you can wear that nice dress. Isn't this something we're throwing out one of the norms of how we raise kids?
Well, the problem
we used
is,
to tell them that. Now we're like, oh no, it matters what you look like for what you feel.
But the problem is, Dave, back in those days, and we do sound like old fogies.
Everyone was ugly, so we're leaving.
To the extent to which a parent could influence their child. So back in those days, I'd suggest that the influence that a parent could have on a child would probably be at 70 or 80% of what they consume would be from their parents in terms of understanding, learning, values, whatever it is. Now, that's 10% because the other 90% they're on their bloody phone, being indoctrinated with what values, here's how you should think, here's how you should look, here's how you should feel.
Maybe that's a through line to some of the conversations we have. Maybe what we've got to do actually is ban smartphones for under 18s.
And we've spoken about that in the past.
Maybe what we've done is not social media, not particular apps. Maybe the reality is we say the danger of that phone is so great that there are no smartphones. Under 18s can only have an analog phone, a dumb phone, I think they call it today. Which means if you're worried about your kids, you need to pick them up. Yep, they can still call and text, but the smartphone is actually about. You want to know something? In all honesty, even I'm just thinking this through now. Even at my age, you think of we all have emails on our phone and it goes ding, and you just pick it up just in case it's emergency. Now you might put it back down in 5 seconds, but why should we be doing that? So maybe one of the healthiest things as a society we should really be saying is the smartphone is banned. We must say that there's no thing. You can still have a laptop. You want to do work, go jump on your laptop.
That ain't going to happen, Dave.
So, well, I'm just trying to think of, have we ever banned anything that we've gone, that's just no good?
Because there's an assumption when products like the phone or the development of the iPhone and the smartphone, people can put it down. Like I scroll a lot, but I wake up in the morning, Dave, you know what I'm looking at? This morning, NFL scores. I'm still in bed, but I'm looking, oh shit, the Red Sox playing the Tiger. Oh, the Red Sox clinched. They're in the playoffs. Beauty here. They got playing the Yankees on Wednesday. How good is that? What time's that? So,
but if you had to get up and put your laptop on and read those things,
I'd still do
breakfast. That's right.
That's what I'd still do it. Yeah.
So here's something for you because this just popped into my mind. How much damage do you think smartphones do? Like, let's just focus on Australia because I want to give the example of Australia to see here. Do you think smartphones through social media, through the marketing, do you think that on average there would be 100 people a year in Australia that would die as a result of the smartphone? In other words, commit suicide because of bullying, harassment, social media pressure. Do you think there'd be 100 people a year? I would say it's probably far more. Like the commit suicide that can be directly correlated to the access to the social media, the bullying.
I'm not sure about the suicide part. I'd say that there's definitely more than 100 who are significantly and adversely impacted over the long term because of those reasons you just described.
Because I would suggest that there could be a direct correlation and they'd link the causation. And it's probably far worse, and I hate to think of that. But I reckon that 100 people, I'm just talking Australia alone, I reckon it'd be at least 100 people of all ages that just the constant in their face, oh, you don't look like this, or you don't have this, or the bullying, harassment. I reckon that there'd be at least 100. Now, out of that, would you say there's probably at least another 100,000 people that it would cause severe depression and anxiety?
I wouldn't say severe, but absolutely.
Right.
Some level of depression.
Now, and we're talking pro baseline numbers, and we could be wrong. This is not a thing, but you'll see where I'm going with this in just a sec. So let's call 100 dead on average a year in Australia that we can directly link to it, and 100,000. Let's even cut that down to even 20,000. In fact, let's call it 50 and 20,000 for argument's sake, right? Too high, low numbers, but too high. Our government banned guns because 31 people were shot by one nut job. And we hadn't had anything like that before, right? So we banned guns because we didn't want the damage to people. So why are we allowing this thing that's such a weapon? And this is not something I've thought about for months or wherever. Like, we'll come on, there'll be stuff you and I'll talk about for a few weeks before we record it. But just as I'm thinking through, I'm thinking, why is it? Why can we ban guns when this thing is far more dangerous to our kids than if we taught them how to use a gun?
Good question, Dave. Good question. But clearly, imagine, Dave, in the context of some of the liberties that were taken away from people during COVID and all the ruckus that caused, imagine trying to tell people that their kids can't have a phone.
No, I'm talking smartphone.
Right. Can't have access to connect to people. I think it'd be a bridge too far.
Well, COVID was the wrong way to handle it, but
yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is,
banned smoking.
What I'm saying is, Dave, that there's people who take that as an affront to say, no, you're taking away my choice to buy a product that's available on the market. And I don't think, if you looked recently, Dave, at some of the decisions that our Australian government has made around banning social media for under 16s, having an account. You can still access it, you just don't have an account. Some of the ruckus that's caused in the US, where the tech companies are now going to the US government, get on the blower, tell those idiots, put the pressure on, right? So we would never be able to do that.
Well, I think we could, but I think the social media one I agree with, but not YouTube, because that's just a streaming platform. But we do it all the time. We ban smoking. We say you can only drink at a certain age. We say you can only have so many drinks and drive. We say you've got to wear a seatbelt. We say you can only drive at this speed limit. Like we've changed entire cultural frameworks for less.
Oh, no.
Right. So we've got school zones that you got to drive at 40 k's. It came off one child being killed. Now, I know there's been more than one before everyone jumps up and down, but the point is, it was like, it was very emotive and it happened. And if you work out how many kids are hit and killed in school zones, preschool zone, again, the numbers don't even come close to the damage that smartphones are doing.
So getting back to my you do you, right? As a parent, take some accountability, take some responsibility for the time that your child or children are on the device, what they're consuming, right? And make sure there are proper protections in place to make sure that they're not adversely affected by that phone or the access to the smartphone. Parents need to be accountable. My issue is when parents aren't accountable, they let their kids go wild on that, and then they are bullied, harassed, and then you've got a kid with depression, and then parents want to come out and say, "Oh, we need to stop big tech doing all this stuff."
Now, mind you, I also, to counter my own argument, if you did have the smartphone, the kids would all just jump on the laptops and do the same thing.
That's right. So I think that is
the same thing as is it Jacinta Allen down in Victoria?
Yeah, the Victorian Premier.
Like the moron to go, we're going to ban machetes. Yep. Because people want to kill someone with a machete will make sure they don't use a machete. And then the week later, we had kids kill other kids with machetes.
I know.
Which there's an episode I want to do, by the way, because I'm getting sick of this country not being able to actually call out when things happen because people get upset that we can't say it's the African community down there has an issue or the Arab community. We've got to start having adult conversations and talk about who's shooting who in drug crimes, who's macheting who in other crimes. That doesn't mean I'm saying that the white society doesn't have crime issues. What I'm saying is let's start being adult again and stop trying to hide things because it's politically expedient not to start.
I think that was a weave and a tangent.
It was a weave. It was a weave, Tony, but it's an important weave.
So
machetes don't kill people, Tony. People kill people.
Thanks, Donnie. I think closing on this one, Dave, I actually think cosmetic procedures in themselves are not bad, right?
limited capacity.
I
for
still
the right
think it's
purposes.
individual choice, but I would suggest that where there's like a cycle or where there's repeats, like every time you keep on going back, I reckon the scrutiny needs to get turned up
Yes.
in terms of psychological assessment
Yes.
to make sure that they're doing this, clear thought and make sure they're not suffering one of those dysphorias you mentioned of earlier. Like personally, I think I don't think I'd ever get it done. I don't want to get it done. I know what I need to do to stay healthy, and I just wish I'm going to try and impart that onto my boys around making sure they understand that they can make choices at any stage in their life, right, to get their life back on track that doesn't need any type of artificial stimulus.
Well, I thought about getting a penis enlargement because I thought an extra inch would be nice. So, there was 2 inches. But no, in all seriousness, to everyone that is watching, listening, be you. Be you. You don't need the surgeries. And again, I'm talking limited. I get it. I'm talking limited. You don't need to make yourself into something you're not to appease someone that's judging you based on the external only. This is Dave being Tim Robbins.
Awaken the winner within.
Yeah. Remember, Tone, if you're not first,
You're last.
all right.
What do we say here, Dave?
You have a right to be wrong.
Take care, mate.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and we hope you enjoyed it. Like us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.